So I come to the United States and I live with my aunts because my dad's living his bachelor life in his bachelor apartment. And I live with my aunts for a while. And I think that's when my story really takes a turn. I think it was difficult, the abandonment, all of that. But I think that when I started to live with my aunts, it was the first time that I consciously and can remember started to experience feeling other than. I didn't belong.
The Art of Rising, where clarity replaces noise, discipline becomes lifestyle, and growth is intentional. Let's rise together. Greetings and welcome to the Art of Rising, where we are exploring transformation, leadership, and conscious visionaries changing the planet. I have the honor to sit with a powerful sister here. We met online and so many things we have in common, but yet she's unique in those special ways. And I believe she has some of the codes we're looking for. So, sister, please introduce yourself. Let us know where you're living and what you're doing with yourself these days.
Of course. Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me. This is amazing. And I am Luisa. I am a paralegal by day. I am a podcast host, and I am someone who loves helping people through all sorts of transformations. All of this started for me a few years ago when I had my own spiritual awakening that just literally shifted the trajectory of where I thought my life was going. And today, that's what I do. I host a podcast called Rupturas y Puentes in Spanish, and I am just helping people get through every single day using all of the tools in my toolbox based on my experiences and everything that comes for me and through me through spirit and just intuition and wisdom.
When I first saw you, we never remember how we meet people, right? It's hardly that, we just came across and we're on the social media and I seen that you're so charismatic and magnetic, and I could see where people would levitate towards you and the conversations and unfolding, So I think
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I like to know. Being that we're fellow podcasters, I'd like to know, how is it that you get people to open up and share some of these things that I've gone over, Yeah.
Of course. So I'll share a little bit. When you and I met, I was still the co host of Flying Upstream, which is, I co hosted that with my co host, Kristen Medeiros, for about a year and a half. We were at about 150 episodes when I walked away from that. And I mentioned that podcast because it's the one that I've grown the most with. It's the podcast that made me realize how much I love sharing my voice and what it means to me. But the reason that was a podcast that happened in is because I stopped trying to be anything other than being present with my guests. The moment I dropped the facade and stopped like over preparing for all of these episodes and wanting to put out the right words and wanting to, the right keywords and the right for the search engine and trying to make sure that I don't offend someone or trying to make sure once I stopped all of that and I decided what I'm going to do is be myself. I'm going to be present so I can listen to my guest's story. I'm going to honor everything that comes through for me in that moment, however it comes out, with whatever words it comes out. And as long as it's coming from my heart, I will not be apologetic about any of it. It is the moment, it is what comes through for me. And as long as it's from my heart and not hurting anyone, once I started to do that and I dropped away all of the shoulds, all of the, supposed to,
Like, yeah.
all of those things, then I started to become more magnetic. People started to like see me and be like, "Oh wow, like it would be nice to have a conversation with her. Let me reach out. Let me
Mhm,
talk to her or just
mhm,
DM her." And
mhm.
I love that a lot. I
Yeah,
enjoy that
yeah,
so much.
yeah. It's beautiful that I recently experienced that also. I was at a place where I had seen this other brother before, and I know he's got a couple of things going on. And then when I seen him again, I was part of doing the sound bath. So I got the crystal bowls and I got the didgeridoo that I play also. And then I played some flute also. And like I have a gong. It's a whole thing, with but I was with two other people. But then in the beginning, I get to share, like what I'm doing, and we'll have these other events and all that, and I have a podcast, and just me being me. That's it. That like afterwards he came to me, hey, look, man, let me get your number, bro. You need to be on my podcast right now. I don't know how I didn't see this last time. I'm like, man, that feels good. You see,
Yeah.
I don't have to go to him and tell him and announce and all that. No, he sees what's here. He sees, and I
Yeah.
see that in you
Yeah.
too. What is the name of this podcast that you're starting now?
Rupturas y Puentes podcast, and it is
Mm,
fully in Spanish.
mm,
Oh my gosh. And as you know, I'm bilingual. My first language is Spanish. I
mm,
am Dominican, and I was born in Dominican Republic. I've been in this country for a very long time, but I hold on very strong to my Dominican roots.
mm.
And I had this calling to start a podcast in Spanish. I feel for me, like when I had my awakening, a lot of the wounds that I first saw were so related to the way that I grew up culturally. They were so related to that. And I was like, there are definitely 100,000% other people who experience the same thing. And
Yes.
so this calling, I'd been just like ignoring it for a while, like, oh, it's
Mhm,
something else. I have a lot on my
mhm,
plate,
mhm.
but it wasn't something I could ignore anymore. And I'm having the time of my life with it.
Yeah, that's
I
what's
get
up.
to connect with so many people. It's moving so much faster than
Mm,
like it took for my
mhm,
other podcast to get momentum. Like the momentum is kind of crazy with it, and I'm
mhm,
loving it.
mhm.
I'm just
Yeah.
loving it. So yeah, Rupturas y Puentes podcast, and it's on YouTube and Apple and all of the podcast platforms.
That's beautiful. I love it. In fact, we're going to have my wife get on the podcast with you there as a guest. If you would have her, she has an amazing story. She was also born in the Dominican Republic. They're
Yeah.
from the capital, and then they ended up in Barahona for a while, and then back again. But she came in her teen years, and when they came, they just loved it here, and they were like, "No, we want to stay here." And it was a struggle in the beginning, like all people do come to any place new. But I know that you guys will click just beautifully. But
I,
perhaps we can get into that. Could you tell us growing up, how was it? You were
mm.
born in the Dominican Republic. Could we find out Luisa coming up as a little girl and growing and fitting in and finding your space, and then you transition to here? Like, could you tell us a bit?
Yeah. So I was brought, so my story is a very interesting story, and not just because it's mine, right? But it speaks to so many of the wounds and pains that I think we're seeing right now that we're all having to like dismantle and work through. So, first and foremost, the story goes that the day my mother found out she was pregnant with me at 15 years old, which I just actually was told last night. I thought my mother was 17, but I saw pictures on her 15th birthday, and she told me she found out soon thereafter that she was pregnant with me. The day that she found out, she tells my father, it is the day that my father's family has arranged for him to leave the country. So this is in the 80s. And, back then, having the means and being able to send one of your kids out to the United States, that for my family, that was like a family level investment. My father felt that he had no option but to go. There had been so much invested in bringing him over to the United States that staying because my mother was pregnant was not an option. And then move forward to unborn. My mother is 15 years old, and she leaves me with my two grandmothers to go be a child because 15 years old, you're a child. And she leaves me my two grandmothers, her mother and my father's mother, between the two of them, do what they can to raise me until I'm 8 years old. And my father brings me over. My uncle actually brings me over to the United States to come and live with my father, who is a 20-something-year-old bachelor in the United States. My family started investing in real estate as soon as they got here. And so my father was doing great at the time, even though he to this day barely speaks English, was smart enough, their family, to make investments that today are paying off really, really well. But there is a bachelor 20 something year old man with now an 8-year old daughter, and there's just no clicking. So I come to the United States, and I live with my aunt because my dad's living his bachelor life in his bachelor apartment. And I lived with my aunts for a while. And I think that's when my story really takes a turn. I think it was difficult, the abandonment, all of that. But I think that when I started to live with my aunts, it was the first time that I consciously and can remember started to experience feeling other than. I didn't belong. And I didn't belong for a lot of reasons, but because of my father's family, it was always about, I was the only one who didn't have a mother. It was looked at as if the one person, right? Like a lot of my cousins didn't have, like, their dads weren't present. That was normal. Like that was normal. But to not have a mother, I was the black sheep and I was treated as such. I was treated by my aunts as, I don't know if this was true for your wife, but in my culture, we wake up on Saturday mornings and you're cleaning. It is like hardcore cleaning all day, every weekend, so that the parties that we're having every weekend, you know what I mean? The house is ready for when everybody else is coming. So I started to become, that's what I did a lot of. And not that they did not do it. That's not it. They cleaned as much as I did. But it was always like a punishment for me. It wasn't something that I did with them. It was looked at as, you get to go do this and you get to go do more of it because it's a punishment. At some point within the next few years, when I was about 12 years old, my father got married and, he decides he's going to settle down to this wonderful woman. And so they bring me to live with them. But she's 20 something years old. She's built her life. She was a social worker. She's built this amazing life. And now all of a sudden she has to deal with a child that, you know, and so from her, I didn't necessarily experience a lot of mistreatment, but it was a lot of like being unseen. It was almost like, like be seen, not heard. There was a lot of that. It was like dealing with me existing. And that was the beginning of, me just accepting that I was other than, that I was never going to feel a part of. I already knew that by then. And then there was a lot of abuse. Think of a form of it, and I experienced it at the hands of my family, all at the hands of my family, including my father. Um, and after I was about 14 years old, I got my first job. This is where my saving graces start. It was such a beautiful thing. I got my first job at the public library. And I I love books because they saved my life. That was the first time that books saved my life. So in order to escape, because I had a very strict father, I couldn't do anything, go anywhere, talk to anyone, which is part of that abuse cycle that happens. You see that in a lot of victims. Um, but I could escape to work. I could work, and that was one thing that I could do. So as long as I possibly could, I would stay at work, or I would grab a book and take it home and I would read. You see those people who are like walking down the street with like reading the book and not looking up? That was me.
Yeah.
That was me. I learned that stories could teach me emotions that I did not feel. I learned what love was through stories, through these stories. I learned what it wasn't through these stories. So even though I didn't have the vocabulary to define what I was going through, I knew to a different depth that what I was experiencing was not love. I knew that I wasn't loved, that I wasn't cared for, and all of those things. So I say that I taught myself how to love by reading. I was into a lot of romance books and a lot of those teen romance novels. But it was the first saving grace in my life. And ever since then, the next big thing that happened that defined me in my childhood was I met my son's father. And I met him online because he was a family member of a family member's husband. Met him online. They needed to send something to the DR through email, and I was the only one who had a computer at home. So we connected that way. I was 15 at the time. But fast forward 2 years later, he comes to the States and he's living in my father's building upstairs from where I'm living. And he did the rest of it. He allowed me to be, as crazy as this sounds, because we had a child 2 years later, but he really allowed me to like finish growing up and really taught me like in real time, this is what love is, by showing me that he just loved me unconditionally. It didn't matter what I did or how I did it. He just loved me and he was there for me in every single way. Like this man, to wrap this question up, sorry it's so long.
It's okay.
Like he sat with me. I was getting my associate's degree and he sat with me, did not speak a lick of English, and would sit with me as I was 9 months pregnant to make sure that I could get through it. Like
Mm.
he wanted to make sure that I could get through it. And with, whatever translation tools and books he could find, just helped me through it. And that was the turning point in my life. I attribute a lot of who I am to him because he was the first person to teach me how to be a decent human being,
Mm.
and not feel ashamed for existing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow, that's powerful. Super, super powerful. That's such a great story. I mean, there's so many stories, and that's what this platform and many platforms are for, just to tell that story. Because everybody has that thing, where they come up. You just see people as people. Oh, that's just this guy, Joe. He's all right. Yeah, you don't know what
You
he's
don't.
going through. You don't know what he's walking with.
Yeah.
And that's part of the work that we do here at Omziel too. Like we have men's retreats, and we have one coming up now, February 20, 21, and 22. And some of the information that men let out in these safe containers, you'd be like, whoa, I thought I had it hard, but they let out some of these things that happen, but then we guide them, to an even safer space and let them know, hey, that's the past. You can't do nothing about that. In fact, hey, this happened to me too. It's shameful, but I'm not gonna hide it. I'm speaking it out. Yes, it hurt me too, and I wish, yeah, I could crush those people because it affected me, and I ended up making bad choices because of those choices that they pushed upon me. But once we're able to just forgive those people, not say, let's go out for lunch or we're gonna have dinner or stay in the house. No, we're not saying that. No, 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 no. But we are saying, hey, look, I forgive you. I
Yeah.
forgive you. Yeah, they did it to you. That's why you did it to me too. You
Yeah.
see, but it ends here.
Exactly. I love that you point that out. And before I go into that, I
Mm,
have to say, and I've told you before, that I love, there are a lot of platforms in which we tell our stories. There are a lot of platforms in which we come on there, we share how we got there. But I love your work because it's focused on men. I feel that there is so much more of that that is needed. So I shared with you, I'm a mother, I have an 18-year-old son, and the power that we have as a society in changing it, a lot of it has to do with healing our men in our society,
mm,
right?
yep,
It is so, there's such a part of it, right? Like the broken homes, the single moms, the number of single moms in this
mhm,
country,
mm,
there's one solution, and it's
mhm,
because
mm,
healed men
right,
would be that solution.
exactly.
And I love the work that you do because there needs to be more. I am so grateful to you as a mother, as a woman, and as a human being. We need more of what you do because
Thank you.
this is the direction we need to take it in. We need to give men that container. I
Mhm,
often feel that a lot of men that I know, it's not that they don't want to, it's that they don't have the safe space to.
right.
And you
Thank
give them that.
thank
That's
you.
life changing.
I've heard that so much because it is true. Just look around. Women get together on the fly, and there's all sorts of, flower ceremony and cacao, and we're gonna talk and all kinds of things. But men, no. There are some, and I have been to some as well. This one in particular, super popular. They got merchandise and all this kind of stuff.
Oh,
Went to the place, paid my money. It was quite pricey, but that's okay. I went to learn, and I want to open up too. I need healing, right?
of course.
So I get there. I met about 30 guys. So already there was many men in the room, but then, there's these guys just sitting right beside me saying, hey, I want to speak too. I want to say my voice. Yeah, but you can't because there's 30 people. We don't got all day here. We have a weekend. So that's one of the unique things that one of them that separates us from other places, that they're far too big and we're a smaller organization. I I have the time. We have the time to do these online meetings and follow up, and hey, let's go, Friday at 3, or hey, how you doing? How's everything going since we last, stuff like that. So
It's beautiful. It's
and
beautiful.
then
You exude that energy. You
thank
exude
you.
it.
I also want to say that we live in a patriarch society.
Yes, ma'am.
That's why we need to focus and say, hey, men need healing because it's too much. It's You see that women, yeah, they're rising like men, but you see that they're acting like men too. You see?
Right.
And the
Right.
government leaders, they're killers. They're straight
Yeah.
killers like men. Now we don't need more of that. No, we don't need more of that.
Yes.
Come on.
Oh,
Come on.
that's a great conversation. We could talk about that all day. And we don't want to. Like women, we're not only are we not intended to naturally, right? Like this is not our nature. We're nurturers. We are nurturers in essence. And I believe, like personally, that my balance is beautiful, like masculine and feminine energy. And I know it's not the same for everyone, but balance for me, that's what it means. It's this beautiful, but there are women who need to exist more in their feminine energy. And they don't want to be
Mm,
of men too. Like, I'm
mm,
not interested in more of that in the world. And
mm,
we find ourselves in, we find ourselves in this patriarchy and in this capitalist world that forces us
mm,
to behave in these ways. Our jobs is to have the awareness and help to dismantle that and
mm,
help recenter people to understand that we don't need to operate out of that. That just because that patriarchy is there and is trying to tell us, and the capitalist society is trying to tell
mm,
us that this is how we should operate, the choice is in our hands. And it is people like you, the work that you
mm,
do, that
mm,
help to shift
mm,
that perspective. It is these
mm,
podcasts and these
mm,
conversations that we get to have
mm.
that will allow the rest of us to kind of be like, oh, and
Mm.
have these realizations that we otherwise wouldn't if we weren't having these
Yeah,
conversations.
it has a lot to do with the rite of passage too. There's no like the quinceañera. Oh, everybody knows quinceañera. What about
Yes.
the men? What about no? We don't get nothing.
Right.
No, we don't get nothing.
Right.
There's no quinceañera for us. No,
Right. And
no.
that thought process, I've
Mm.
struggled with this having a son as he's becoming a young man, right? Like this idea, and it works for some people. Everything has a place. I'm not saying in general that,
Mhm.
but
Right.
this idea that my son was born to just work and provide.
Yeah. Right.
Like that,
Yeah.
no, he was
No.
not. My son
No.
is a
No.
lot more
Oh,
than that.
we
A
all are. We
lot more
all
than
are.
that.
Yes, and we need to
You know?
step into that and realize that, and that's what we help to give men, that rite of passage, something that they never received. I didn't. My rite of passage, they told me, go have a drink. You're a man. Go
Yeah.
have sex, have a
Yeah.
woman, get a lot of women. Right? If you notice, check this out. Kids, right? Little girls, little boys, right? They go to the little boy, oh, how many girlfriends you got, right? But they would never say that to a little girl. Never,
Yeah.
never. They always say, oh, how is it the tea party, or the pay with the doll? You see? That's why women are more mature than men. That's what men, it helps to support that men need more help. We're over
Yeah.
here shooting and blowing up and car racing and all that, and nothing about family, nothing about responsibility, leadership, structure, consistency,
Yeah.
nothing. Like women are the one. No,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
We are. And it's, I love that you're doing this. It's beautiful. It's needed. And this is the way to create the world that we want to exist in, right?
Mhm.
By acknowledging these things, acknowledging that we didn't get that. And then they get that with you.
Mhm,
Excuse
mhm,
me.
mhm,
And
mhm,
it's just the value in it. You see the quality of men, right? Like you, like your energy, like it's
mhm.
so magnetic, And imagine if we had half of the men in this world
Yeah,
like you.
yeah.
Imagine what a different world we would live in.
Oh man, I mean, I wasn't always like this, right?
Of course.
But sometimes I look at some other guys and I'd be like, bro, man, you're leaving a lot on the table, bro. Like, yeah, but and then I see him biting his nails. I'm like, bro, men don't bite nails, bro. We don't move like that, bro. Like, there's some things you gotta get straight on, and just need a bit of guidance and stuff. And it comes from strong women like yourself too. I mean, thank you so much for all the flowers that you're giving me, and I'll take them. But let's look at yourself a little closer here. You could easily be that woman that's picking up the garbage and sweeping the floor at your day job. You haven't seen a woman doing these things, and then they stay there. They never rise. You don't. They don't take a class or no, no, nothing. No, come on, you could. Oh, because you don't. Why? Because you don't speak English? Because you're not white enough? You're not black enough? You're not. No, that's not. It's not even true. That's all lies.
It is.
So
It
tell me
is.
about
It's
you. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's all lies. So, as I just shared, it was like getting through my associate's degree. One of the main things that I learned early on with my family, I was the translator for a lot of these like real estate signings
Mm.
as a kid. So here's my family buying, $200,000, $250,000 properties, and I'm the translator. I don't understand a goddamn thing I'm translating. And of course, they don't understand anything that they're signing. So no one in that room, other than, the people who are having us sign the documents, the bank, the loan people,
Mm.
understand what's going on. And it prompted me to become a paralegal. That's what prompted that was I wanted to be a bridge for my community to be able to help them
Mm.
understand what it was that they were signing, what these legal progress like processes like immigration for my family, because I have a huge family,
Mm.
like they would make such an impact in our lives, but we did not exactly understand them. And so I became a paralegal. I got my associate's degree pregnant as I was.
Mm.
And actually, I gave birth to my son on my last semester of getting my associate's. And I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to go back to school. And then
Mm.
his father was like, what do you mean? Like, you're just getting started. And,
Mm.
that's again the power of men who
Mhm.
are healed. He's like, what do
Mm.
you mean? This is just something small. We're going to figure this out. Hired someone that summer to make sure that because he went off and worked, to make sure that I got the rest that I needed between having a newborn to be able to finish my classes.
Wow.
So I finished my
Mm.
associate's degree,
Mm.
and then
Mm.
life happens to us, like a
Mm.
lot of dramatic life, like
Mm.
really big life stuff. And then, needless to say, then I left and lived in the DR for a couple of years to be with him and to be with my son. And then I came back to the States in that position. All I had was an associate's degree while
Mm.
I was bilingual.
Mm.
I did not have a car. I did not have any resources
Mm.
whatsoever. And there
Mm.
was one thing that I knew for sure, and that was that I did not want to go back to my father's. That is
Mm.
one thing that I knew.
Mm.
But my mother didn't have a place that she could have me here in the States to help me in any way. And I didn't have a relationship with her anyway.
Mhm.
But you
Mhm.
know what? I was like, what? Like, there's going to be something that's going to hurt here. What's going to
Mhm.
hurt the least? Is it me staying in this
Mm.
position? Or is it me going and dealing with my father for 6 months until I can get a car, get on my feet, get my son back, get a place to live, and re enroll in school? And I took that route, the route that was going to cause me the most pain emotionally. But long picture, I saw the vision. I had
Mm.
the option of choosing to leave behind that temporary pain and not going to stay with my father,
Mm.
or choosing to be in this
Yeah.
long-term pain of not having the
Mm.
financial resources
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
the lifestyle to be able to afford life for my
Mm.
son and I.
Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
knew that that was not going to happen for me.
You
I didn't
see?
know how I was going to make it happen. And I knew that education for me was the ticket. I
Mm.
knew that also at the time.
Mm.
So I came back, scrambled, bought a car, slept in the
Mm.
car with my son for a little
Mm.
while. In I'm
Ah.
from Boston, and in October, November, like that weather,
Whew.
with my 2 3 year old son, and I weathered that. And then once it was getting into like November, December, I was like, okay, this is not safe for him at this point. Like we were living in the car. We are just doing. I had a job that was paying me $14 an hour, and I was bringing him to preschool that was free because of my lack of resources at the time. And once it was getting too cold, I reached out to my mother, who lived in a one-bedroom apartment already with my other sister that lived there with her other child.
Mm.
Okay. Also, aside from that, I wasn't close to any of them. So I was like also again that stranger to
Mm.
all of this.
Mhm. Mm.
But that was the best thing for him. And then I enrolled in school. I got my bachelor's degree and got a decent job. And I met my now ex-husband that I spent well, it's been 3 years since divorce, but we were married for about 10 years, and really worked hard, put our heads down, just
Mm.
changed the trajectory of my life by working. I
Yeah.
worked two jobs
Mm.
at a time, always had a
Mm.
professional day job.
Mm.
I did a lot of insurance work, a lot of law office work, a lot
Mm.
of translation work. And
Mm.
then
Mm.
In 2021, I decided that that wasn't it for education for me, and I went back and I got my master's in legal studies at the University of Texas A&M School of Law, and
Mm,
here I am. And
mm,
to your point, all it takes is a decision. And I lately have been emphasizing, because I think this gets lost a lot, that it is going to cost you something. It will
mm,
cost you something.
mhm,
Especially like
mhm,
if you find yourself in a situation like mine, where everybody that was supposed to protect you and love you
mm,
instead was hurting you in every single
right,
way, every single time that you came around.
right.
But what are you willing to pay to get out of that
Mm,
situation? Like, what
mm,
are you willing to do? And it takes a lot of mental work. And even as young as I was then, I just knew that if I didn't take action, if I didn't sacrifice something at that
mm,
time, which was my
mm,
discomfort,
mm.
then we would still be there. We would
Yeah,
still be in that same place.
right.
I would still be, in a place where I was earning 14, 17, twenty
Hmm.
dollars an hour,
Yeah,
able to
of course. Yep,
sustain life.
yep,
And we would still be struggling.
yep,
You know,
yep.
now I have education. I know how to make choices. I'm emotionally
Mm-hmm.
regulated. I get to
Mm-hmm.
choose where I want to work. I can say
Right,
no to so
right,
much because
right.
I know, based on
Mm,
who I am, that what I want, I'm going to get it. Not because it's
mm,
going to appear from magic. I
right.
put in the work and continue to do that
Oh,
every
yeah.
single day.
Yeah, my dad used to tell me that prayer happens on your knees, but things get done on your feet.
Yes.
You got to get up and do it because
Yeah.
it's not going to magically show up. But you speak about those decisions that you made, like, yeah, I mean, you paid that price, and the cost is high, of course, because you have to go into the cave and face the dragon, right? And then the bigger the dragon, the bigger the pot of gold that the dragon is protecting.
Yes.
You have to slay the dragon. But now that you've paid that price, tell me, what about now? And how is your life now? And what did all that give back to you?
You know, my life now is something I could have never dreamt. I could have never, if somebody was like, oh, like, write down your perfect life, I would have said that all of these things that I have and who I am, and I'm not talking about material things, but all of the things that I have are things that I would have been like, that is other women that get to have that. Other women who are lucky. I always used to say that. Lucky women get to have that. And what that was for me was freedom of choice. What that was for me was peace. What that was for me was the ability to prioritize my family first, which for me is my children. What I have, like, what I have the ability to tell my son, choose a school in the country and we will make it happen.
Mm,
That to me is priceless because that's exactly what he did and that's exactly what we did. We made it happen.
mm,
A single mother, by all statistics, I should not be here. And
right?
by all
Okay.
statistics, he should not be where he is, studying
Mm,
medicine
mm,
at his
mm,
top school, like top choice school. That is
mm.
that is not where we should have ended up.
Right, right.
But
Statistic.
that is what I have, and that is what my life is now. And the peace and the quiet in my life, priceless.
Priceless, priceless. You can't find it. You
You
can't.
can't.
You can't drink it. You can't shoot it. You can't
Nope.
smoke it. You
Nope.
can't find it. I know. Same here. Like I thought I was the coolest guy in the room, but I wasn't. I didn't know that at the time,
Yeah.
but I made tons of bad choices. Like I was chemically dependent and I ended up homeless as well. And I've got this all huge novela that
Yes, that's what it is.
yeah,
A
yeah,
novela.
yep. But it ends beautifully. Like I'm here with my wife. We're in a two-family house and two cars and like all the material things. But then we have two beautiful children. We couldn't have kids, and now we have them, and they have this huge family. And then I'm growing this business with this tribe and community. And oh man,
Oh my
but I
gosh.
could still be the guy in the one room where I was sharing the bathroom in the hallway.
Yeah.
And with a one single bed and a one little burrito and a 19-inch TV. Why? Because there were guys. I go back there. They're still there. They're still there. I'm like, dude, you here still? Oh
Yeah.
man, come on, bro.
Yeah.
You gotta fight and
It's
scratch
those
for what you want.
choices. Yeah.
Hmm.
And another thing I think is fear. The fear of failure stops so many of us. But as you know, as a business owner, as we learn in this business world and in this world in general, is you said something about facing the monster and facing the dragon. When you look that fear in the face,
Mhm.
you realize that it never actually had power.
Right.
You gave all of the
Mm.
power to it that it had.
Yes.
And
Yes.
also, without that fear and without you facing that dragon, you wouldn't have grown into the person that you need to become to get to this next level that you need to get to. And
Yes.
I emphasize that because I think a lot of us, for me for a while, you know, the lucky girl thing, it came from a place of not seeing their process, of not seeing, you know, what it
Mm.
took for someone to get there and all of that they had to do. Like a lot
Mm.
of people see me. I was at the gas station yesterday and this 28-year-old guy, I'm 37 years old and I have two kids. And this 28-year-old guy is like looking at me and he later tells me, he's like, you look 25 or 30, like
Mm.
completely like so
Mm.
relaxed and like
Mm.
just the spirit of like a 25-year-old. And
Yeah.
I'm like, do you know how much work this took to get here? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I'm not
Oh,
25
man,
and I
right.
have that spirit because
Mm.
I've done the work
Right.
that it takes to get here, that it takes to feel that way. I mean, I do feel 25, but
Mm.
you know, and I think we get really lost in seeing people when they've arrived
Mm.
and don't get, because we don't get to see their process and we don't understand that part of the process of becoming
Mm.
is what gets you to that next phase. You have to go
Mm.
through it. You have to face that
Yeah.
fear.
Yeah.
You have to take that step that seems so scary. Sometimes you have to take and pay for that class and not know if
Yeah.
you're going to be able to also make rent. Like
Mm.
sometimes you just have to take the
Yeah.
risk because if you
Mhm.
don't, you just will never know and you will
You'll never know.
always never know.
Oh my God. And you don't want that. You don't want that. It's, trust
Mm-mm.
me, I'm not growing old like that. Thinking, man, I wish I would have did. No, 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 no.
Mm-mm.
It'll be like,
No.
yeah, I did it. I kicked some ass around here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you talk about that fear, right? And that thing that kind of like you have to face it. Recently, I'm taking in this new book called Big Magic. She's the one who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, right? And in the book, she says that um, sometimes it's like that when you see the face of God, right? When you really see the face of God, right? You would be like, you would be terrified,
Yeah.
but it's God.
It's
It's
gone.
God. It's just we don't know. That's what fear is. Fear is false entity appearing real. It's something that you're imagining that's like, oh my God, but that's
Yeah.
it's beautiful. We need to face it and we need to go through it. And you see that you come out on the other side. Oh my God, just shining like
Fine.
beautiful. Yeah, we're big into books and stuff like that. So that's a huge one for us. But once you tell me about your the intuition, and your
Mhm.
intuition and the strategies that you create, right? Because
Yeah.
sometimes they could be conflicting a little bit, especially doing all of these things as an independent woman.
Yeah.
So which one do you trust first? Your intuition or the strategy, and why?
My intuition always. And why is because I feel like that is, you know, I am a drop. So to me, in my own belief system, is I am a drop of the creator. I am, I was created by the creator in order for me to come here and experience and create. And I am a part of his creation. And therefore, as God's child, when I listen to my intuition, I know that that's where it's coming from. And
Mm.
so I trust my intuition first, my processes and my mental and logical thinking second, but they do have to work hand in hand. There are a lot of times in which you need to bring them together. You have to learn to listen to your intuition, though. The problem that I find that a lot of people don't understand about intuition is it's so subtle. It's so subtle that you can miss it. If you're not attuned to yourself, first and foremost, you can miss it. And I developed my intuition because, 5 years ago, you would have told me intuition. I would have been like, what is that? I literally would have been like, I don't know what that word is. I developed my intuition during my spiritual awakening by going into a closet for 2 minutes. It was the first time I meditated. And I sat there because I was like, well, where can I sit quietly before my kids come find me? Sat in that closet for 2 minutes, and I realized there was this whole world inside me that I had never experienced. And so then I started meditating regularly, and being in that silent, in that moment of where it's just me and not allowing all of the external factors to play any part in this moment, doing that for years. The meditation, it really allowed me to tune into my intuition, and now I know that voice versus my mental and the external factors that are trying to guide me. Intuition, while at the time, usually like my intuitive hits take me in that direction that put me right in front of whatever I'm fearing. And I'm kicking my feet sometimes all the way to it. But I'm like, okay, this is where I feel like I should be going next. And it hasn't failed me. I can't always see it at the time. At the time, I'm like, oh, this is falling apart. This is about to break. This does not look good. But I've not been misled. I mean, I've been led to this life that I just never even considered a possibility.
Right. That's beautiful. The the gut, right, is so important. We share a symbiotic relationship with our gut, right? Because when you step into a room and you know you shouldn't be there, where do you feel it in your body? You get thoughts, but where do you feel it? You feel it in your gut. You see, it's so important. That's why people say things like, "Ooh, I hate his guts." Why do they say that? Why don't people say, "I hate his ears" or I can't stand his kneecaps"? No, it's the gut, because they know that that's the one that is leading you right there. It's seeing everything, it's feeling it, and it's indicating. So important. That's why people say things like, "Ooh, I hate his guts." Why do they say that? Why don't people say, "I hate it"? It's seeing everything, it's feeling it, and it's indicating. Women are really good at this, right? Because women say, "Oh, they feel it inside," and that's what we're big on. Sea moss, to get good gut health and the foods that we eat, these things, right? So that's probably where the quinceañera comes from. It comes from these old small village stepping into her power now. Let's let her know. Come around, gather women. Let her know, Mija, you're a woman now. You're going to be able to make stronger decisions about bringing life into this planet. You see? Instead, they turn into something else. You rent the hall, you got a big dress, and come on, got a brother-in-law, spent thousands of dollars. Like, why? For what?
I was
Yeah,
gonna
but
say, yeah, thousands of dollars, and
yeah.
the meaning of it has been lost. And not for everybody. Again,
Yeah,
this
not
is
for
like,
everybody. Yeah, I'm not
it's
here
not
to
for everybody.
bash. I'm
Right.
just trying to focus on that intuition part that you speak about. Yes, we have to pay attention there. That's our
It,
Dantian is right there. Dantian between the navel and our private parts, right there. That's where our fire burns. That's the one that tells you
the
go to
sacral
school.
chakra.
Sacral chakra, go to school. Yeah, that's right. Finish that. And keep going, keep going. And then I get the same thing. I get that little voice, because you gotta know that voice is not you, right? Because we're pure consciousness. Consciousness doesn't speak.
Yep.
We're the observer. The other one is the voice that we developed as children. That's all that is, right? But we have to see that voice. But here I am making decisions, and just like you, man, it's falling apart. And then I get the other voice telling me, "Oh, trust." I mean, trust. How could you trust? Everything is falling apart. I don't have to, but then trust. What are you talking about? Trust.
It looks like it's
Yeah,
beyond trust, and
yeah, it's
it's
beyond
falling
trust.
apart.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not gonna
but
work. How can it possibly
yeah,
work? And your brain
but
is
it
looking for
does
all the
work.
ways that it could
But
possibly not work.
it but
And
it
then
does.
the most miraculous thing
Yeah,
happens,
yeah,
and
it's crazy.
you're like, I never thought of that. I didn't think of that as a possibility.
Right. We think of things how they should be, right? So think of anything that you're doing in your life. You already have thoughts because humans are like that. We movie making in our head. So you're thinking about, oh, it'll be like this, and I'll be something, and then and then it's never like that. So when other things come up leading toward that, because the universe wants to give you everything, is your inherent right here in this realm, is to have all those things. When it starts unfolding, you go, oh, it doesn't look like the way that I thought it would, but it's not that way. It's the way it is. It's just the isness of it.
Yeah.
You see, you met that
Yeah.
guy. Yeah, guy.
Because our amygdala, right? Like our biology is looking, if we think about animals, right? Like they're always looking for the next thing, like the next danger. And so we are the same. And so our amygdala is trying to protect us from that danger. So it's going a million miles an hour, trying to think of all of the ways that this looks like danger, all of the possible negative outcomes.
Mhm.
And when that amygdala gets going and you don't have control of it, you don't have control over your mental thoughts, and you don't know how, you don't have a process, a system of how to manage them, you let that run and you forget that that's just your biology trying to protect you and
Mhm.
that you have the power to override it every
Yeah,
single time.
every single time, every single
Every
day. You see those people like, man, wow, I know this guy. He was in the job when I first started that job. He started as a young man when I was 2 years old, and I got in in my 30s. And then when I left that job, he was still there. I mean, this guy was like, he was just, I'm like, that's it? This is it right here, bro? Come on, man. Life is so much more. Man, I'm proud to say I've been to so many jobs, and there was lots of
yeah,
jobs that I threw in the toilet, and it's an adventure. You ever get
yeah,
that guy with they're giving him the award for never coming to work late? I'm like,
yeah.
dude, if they gave me that award, I wouldn't even get it. I'll be like,
I
no,
don't
no,
want
no,
it.
no, I'm
I
good.
don't
I'm
want
good, man. I'm good. Yeah, just mail it to me, bro, please.
it. Well, yeah, we get caught up on all of these things that like society tells us we're supposed to be doing, these milestones. But and again, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean for your life? So if you that sounds to me like someone who prioritized work. What about your family?
Mm,
What about, your relationships, your partner, with your self-care, your self-love? What about your healing, your rest?
mm,
You know, I did disability. I've done disability law for most of my career, but specifically, I used to work in the insurance industry making decisions about disability. So when employers bought disability policies for their employees, deciding whether or not we were going to pay them. That was me in that chair making those decisions. And the saddest stories that I can remember come from those people who are like, but I've been working with this company for 30 years. What do you
mm,
mean I now don't get this benefit? So a lot of people don't fully understand the gist of these benefits and how they work. And, you know, there was this one woman, and she was like a top level exec. And it breaks my heart to this day. It breaks my heart because her monthly benefit was set to be something in the 20 of thousands of dollars every month, like 20 something, 23, $25,000 each month. So when I denied her claim, she was devastated. She was like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "Well, you can appeal it. There's one more decision above me." Then it gets appealed, it gets sent back to me. I have to make obviously a different decision. And so I approve her claim. And I will never forget that phone call because as I'm telling her that she's approved, it's the first time that she recognized that money was not going to solve all of her problems. She
mm,
had put her whole life into building this career, had not married, had not had children, was now in her 60s with a disease that was terminal,
mm,
and was alone, was completely alone.
mm,
And this $20,000 a month check that she ended up getting every month,
mm,
she realized that that was not going to take the illness away, caused mainly by stress
mm, mm,
from all that she put into that job that replaced her within months. And we forget that. We forget that once some things happen, like some of these irreversible health conditions, some of these chronic, some of these death sentences in essence, you don't get to go back. So what we have is right now. What you have is this moment. What you have is this podcast episode to help you change the trajectory of your life by making different decisions, by acting out of intuition, by making decisions that lead towards a better you, even if it looks like everything else is crumbling.
Mm, mm,
You
yes.
have to make the decisions. You have to recognize and prioritize what matters to you first.
Mm,
Because everything else that is there but is not a priority for you may or may not be there.
mm,
But if the things that are a priority for you are not there, then what does that leave you feeling at the end of the day? What does
mm,
that leave you feeling at the end of, at the end of your life when life
mm,
may or may
mm,
not turn out the way that
mm,
you want it to?
mm,
Like for me right now, I can say that I'm okay. And I tell this to my daughter who's 10
mm,
years old and she does not like it. I'm okay if life were to end today for me. I've
mm,
chosen this life.
mm,
I've made out of all my wounds and all the hurt and all the pain, I healed that. There is no hate in my heart. And once I had control of my life, I made it what I want it to be. And it's
mm,
so
mm,
beautiful. And I
mm,
hope that I get to spend the next 20, 30 years with my children, watching
mm,
them grow and make of
mm,
their lives what they want. But if
mm,
I didn't, I am
mm,
okay with that.
mm.
This is such a beautiful existence that I have
Yeah, yeah.
that I'm totally okay with
And
it.
you've well, I've experienced these things too. The beauty, especially with children, they bring those things. That's why when they tell you, "Oh, when you have kids, it changes everything," believe them. You don't know till you get to see. But they're in actuality, they're raising us. We're not raising them. We think we're
Yeah.
raising them, but we're not. We have to push all the stuff that we've been taught into. But they come with all the answers. They know everything. They're intuitive. They're spiritual. They're everything. They know insights. They know future. So what I did want to say was, you know, there are people that say, no one's coming to save you. You got to do it. See, that's not totally true. You see, people will come to help you and get on board once you start getting the ball rolling. You see, because you think, how am I going to do it? Don't worry about that. Just do it. Get up, do it. Podcast, write the book. I don't know. Do a gathering or go visit or travel or stay in a hostel. I don't know. What is it for people? Whatever you want to be, a coach or a professional athlete or something like that. Once you
Yeah.
start doing that, you see people come out of nowhere, the woodworks. We're doing
Absolutely.
this festival here, upstate New York, in New Paltz, New York. It's the Purple Sage Festival. It's happening now on June 13th. I couldn't have never imagined that I was looking for places. I was like, well, and I tried this place, it didn't work out. I tried another place, it didn't work. And I was like, man, if it comes, it just comes. And it did. Like I'm putting in the work and people see you doing it and they're like, it's almost as if the universe is saying, hey, you know what? I like that. I see he's burning it, man. He really wants it.
Yes.
That book I told you about, The Big Magic, she speaks about ancient Romans, where they looked at genius as a spirit. We think of genius as like, oh, Einstein is a genius, right? Because he figured something out. But no, they're saying that genius is like a spirit, like an entity, and it's there. It's always there for us. Always. We all have that thing there. And sometimes genius just like sits in the corner and just looks at you and just wonder, let me see if he really wants it. Hold on. Nah, he don't really want it. He don't really want it. Oh, what? What? Oh, what? Oh, he wants it? All right, let me help this guy out. Yeah, it's like that.
100%. I tell people all the time, it's like, they're the spirit, like the spirit is there for you. Like, just call upon it. Like for me, it's like my angels. If I and it sounds crazy. It sounds so crazy, but if I
Not to
want
me.
something, I call upon them. I'll call my business angel like I need help. I'll
Mhm.
call upon my, emotional regulation angel. I need help. I call upon my parenting. I need help and it's never fails me and I
Right.
think it's a piece of information that it sounds crazy, right? It sounds like, oh, like that spirit
Yeah.
sitting in the corner waiting for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is call upon it. Like
Yeah.
call up on it. It is
Yeah.
there for you. We're so beautifully spiritually supported in this
Mm-hmm.
realm and in every realm, but
Mm-hmm.
we just need to ask it. We just need to want it. We just need to
Yeah.
call upon it.
I often mention Don Miguel Ruiz, right? He made the Four Agreements and other books. If you've read that one, the Four Agreements,
I haven't read it. I've heard a
yeah,
lot
it
about it.
is.
I
It's
haven't read
it's
it.
an easy read and practical. You can use what he's saying there every day with everything. But he mentions in the book that we're domesticated just like dogs. That's a hard truth. We come in here, me and you, Luisa, we don't know nothing about this. They told us this is your food, this is your music, this is your language, this is your school, this is your God, this is your temple, this is your, I mean, I can't, this is your food, this is your music, this is your language, this is your school, this is your God, this is your temple. Pagita? No, no, yes, I can. I can because it's all there for us. So when we speak about these things, these entities, I love it. I'm part of I'm part of the crew. I know that Jesus and all that, but some things are not true.
Can't be true.
Just logically, just
Yeah.
logically. No, come
Yeah.
on. What God would do that? What? No,
Yeah.
So open.
Don't align with that anymore. And that is the reason is that black and white, that like heaven or hell, and that I don't align with, if it's black or white. I don't align with, I have to go through a third person to be in contact with my God. I don't
Mm,
align with
right.
a
Yeah.
lot of, and a lot of the shame put on all of that. Yeah, and yeah, I we have to wake up and we have to recognize what is true and what is not. And I always make sure to say like the truth may not be the same for you as it is for me, but what is true for you? Just wake up and
Right.
pay
Yeah.
attention and evaluate what is
Evaluate.
true for you.
Yeah, question. All the great ones, Einstein, including Socrates.
Yeah.
Socrates, they got him for not worshiping the local gods and influencing the young people. And I like to make the joke, oh, that God thing, yeah, they got him good on that one. He was way out. He was wrong. He should have been. But the influencing the young people, all he was saying was question.
And that's
que-
it.
That's it. Why do you go there? Why do you dress like that? What are you? Why are you doing that job? What like that? And they were like, "Oh no, this guy gotta go."
Yeah.
Right? But then schools started opening up of Socrates after that. After they
Yeah.
made him drink the hemlock and all that. But it's just that questioning. We should always be inquisitive. Never take things like for granted. Just face value. They're just telling it. No, read a book, study it, learn. If you know about Catholicism, learn about it. See the roots of it. Where's it coming from? Where's the origin? Keep going back. Keep going back. Keep
Yeah.
going. And you want to know about Hinduism? Learn about that. Just keep going back. Learn. Lots of things have been going on in this planet that they're not telling us
Yeah.
for eons that have been
Right.
going on here. Yeah, we're just new to the game.
Yeah, we are. And, to your point that you made earlier, that is what children do, right? They're so inquisitive and they ask more questions and they're so curious and they're like, yeah, but what about this? And then deeper, and then what about this? So if we learn, this is the main thing I've learned from my children amongst, I mean, I learn every day, but the main thing has been instead of telling them like, like for me growing up, it was like cállate, like just because, just that's the answer, porque sí,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
If we listen to them like
Mhm.
even 1/4 of the time,
Mhm.
in the way that like in their curiosity, the questions that they ask, the depths that they get to, I
Mhm.
mean, we have so much to learn from them. There
Yes.
is so honestly so many answers that I get from my kids just listening to them being kids, just listening to them in their own minds, and just listening to the questions that
Mhm.
they ask themselves.
Mhm.
I have learned
Mhm.
and made decisions, like real
Yeah,
life
me too.
decisions.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes when they go, Dad, you should turn right. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm turning right. I don't quit. I don't know why he said turn right over here. I'm turning right. He knows where we're going. Whatever, man. I don't know if I would have went that way. Who knows? So
Yep.
I'm
I
like
am
that
the
too.
same exact way with my children, and it's served us beautifully.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. They are the master teachers. we're the one that we corrupt them and stuff like that. But
I agree. So,
yeah.
Socrates, he was right. He was.
Yes, that's right. Just question everything. Question. Don't take things like that. And read books, right? So we have a folder that we share with people. They have audiobooks and PDF books. And if anybody's interested, they just need to send me their email and I will share the folder. And in fact, I'm going to share it with you too. And I have audiobooks there. So I'm not the type of person, or I shouldn't say that, but I found myself not reading the books I was buying. They were collecting dust. Like some people go and they, oh, let me read a good book, snuggle up by the fire. Like I wasn't doing that. They were just collecting dust. So I said, you know what? Let me do the audiobooks. Oh, mija, devouring books, all
Yeah,
kinds of business, spirituality, psychology, everything, history. Like, love it.
it's
Open my
amazing.
mind, broaden my perspective, raise my consciousness, expand my being, everything. So we're
Yeah,
big on that. Read books.
I love that. And I
Yeah.
second that. Read books, life changing, all of
Hmm.
them. Right now, I'm reading Trust by Osho, and it's,
Mm.
I have to stop every few pages and reflect because there's so much. It's beautiful. It's
Mm.
so much knowledge. So, yes, I
Did
love
you
that.
see? Did you see that documentary on Netflix? Right? Yeah, that was wild. Right? It's called
No.
Wild Country. It's called Wild Country. Yeah, I
Yes.
love the part when the girl left, and then he didn't talk for a long time, but then the girl left, and then he got out. All the people were there, and he was like, "She left. That bitch. She didn't even say goodbye." I was like, I like that guy. I like him. He kept it real.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and yeah, he
Yeah.
was buying a Rolex all the time and Rolls Royce and all that. But this is what I tell people, Luisa: take the message,
Yes.
take the. But don't worry, man. I talk about these motivational guys. David Goggins. Oh, he cursed all the time, and he's been married 3 times. Yeah, and dude,
Right.
he's got a powerful message. Like, get up and go work out, bro. Run. Like,
Yeah.
Osho, listen, listen.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing, amazing stuff. You got the
Yeah.
downloads and all that. Yeah, man.
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
That's good. All right. We're coming up on the hour. Where can people find you? They want to talk to you and meet you and all that.
Yeah, so I can be found on Instagram at Luisa and Baez. Luisa, LuisaAndBaez. And I'm on there just loving life and enjoying it and sharing it with everyone. And every once in a while, I share a lot of my spiritual stuff and a lot of just life and some legal stuff as I'm learning it myself.
That's beautiful. Let's keep it going. I love that podcast. Let's get the name of that again.
Rupturas y Puentes podcast. That is on YouTube, and you can actually find the link
Culturas y
to that
fuentes.
right on my Instagram. You'll get all of it, and we're gaining a lot of momentum. So join the conversation and share it with anybody who's a Spanish speaker, because
Mhm.
everybody seems to be getting something out of it, and I'm
Yeah.
loving it.
You have a great thing there. I don't see a lot of people doing it. So it's great. You're bilingual, you speak English and Spanish, and I love it. I love all the content that you're putting out there. I see you hard at work, and yeah, I always think of you sometimes when I'm putting stuff out too. I'm like, oh, hold on, I'm putting this out too. Hold on, let me get up there and say something, or so. But
Yeah.
that's great. We do it for ourselves.
Yes.
That's how I do it. You see, because if you don't want to hear this podcast or you don't want to see my social, just swipe. Just keep going. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's there if you want it, and it's, a swipe away if you don't.
I'm gonna end it with the quote from the book, The Big Magic. She said, um, "If greatness should accidentally fall upon you, let it find you hard at work."
That's beautiful. That is
Okay,
beautiful.
okay. So stay right there. We're gonna close this out.